If it has a score, we cover it more. From football to lacrosse, hockey to baseball, we've got what you want. Welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, good morning, Canada. Welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show on this Friday, September the 6th. A very special day, John Frenzy's birthday. And he's here today, right out of the gate. Hall of Fame writer, broadcaster John Lynch. He's here in the bunker. His nose is a little out of joint, however, because he's not joining us for the warm-up. Nor is Darren DuPont, by the way, John, if you noticed.
Yes, I noticed that.
You noticed. DuPont and Lynch are here. They'll be in the bunker a little later on. We've got some very special guests who are a little, I believe, tight for time today. CTV TSN's Claire Hanna's here from the CFL on TSN, CTV Regina, and from TSN Winnipeg, Darren Bombing, and also this weekend, Canada West Television. How's it going, everybody?
Pretty good. Happy birthday, Frenzy. I didn't know that. You didn't say anything.
You didn't say, well, we got treats here from Perk and Taps Coffee House. We have some words about them coming up. But it's football season. It's Friday. We've got a very big slate in the Canadian Football League. Week 13 opens tonight. BC at Montreal. The Banjo Bowl is leading our poll already. I tweeted it a couple of hours ago. What is Canada's game of the week in the CFL? Our Capital Auto Mall, Universal Collision Center daily poll. What's Canada's game of the week? Our runaway favorite is the Banjo Bowl. So Darren has some thoughts on that. Of course, it blew my mind as to why he was even here. He's from Winnipeg. The game's in Winnipeg, and he's in Regina.
Wait a minute. The game's in Winnipeg?
Oh, no! You're going to be late! And Claire Hanna, of course, sidelines on CTV. You know, so many things to get to. It's show number 68.
Oh, my gosh. Congratulations.
Yes, we'll be recognizing number 68. For me, it begins and ends with Jaromir Jagr.
Yes.
Begins and ends there. And Andrew Green, of course, one of my personal favorite Bomber alum and Rider alum. But guys, Bianca Andreescu,
yes.
Thursday Night Football. Look at you. Look at you. You just got all...
I'm like blushing.
Where are you on the Bianca Andreescu? This is pretty crazy.
Where am I? Like, I'm fully invested.
You're
I
all
want
on.
to get like a Coco tattoo, like the dog on one arm, Bianca on the other arm. I want to do my hair like her mom. You know, like I am fully on the Bianca train.
You, Darren?
That's by it. I think it's great. Like 19 years old.
Yeah.
And now you got Serena Williams in the U.S. Open final. Like, what that win last night tripled her career earnings. Just like that, like a $2 million payday, something like that.
Just to win a semifinal?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, punching her ticket.
The composure, too, like the will, like when she was down 5-2, and I think there was like the first serve she returned, I'm like, okay, you know what? She's packing it in for this set, and she's just going to come back hard in the third set. Like, I just assumed it was over, and I think everybody did. And I think even she had a moment where she was like, okay, whatever. And then she just turns it around. She flips the script. Like, that was unreal for anybody, let alone a 19-year-old who's in her first U.S. Open. Like, that's unheard of.
Well, I'm really glad that you gave that update because I was in a sports bar last night with the sports doctor, Dave Patrician. Yes. And, you know, if you want to watch both, probably your best idea is to go to a sports bar. So they had the tennis game on. They had Thursday Night Football on a bigger screen. And like an idiot, I'm watching the Packers and the Bears. It was awful.
See, and
10-3 Packers, bad game. I probably should have been watching 10.
I have Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback in my fantasy football league. My team's Mac and Jelly. There was a little bit less. There was nothing there, though. And I look at the score, the points he put up, and I was just like, what the heck? Like, I took him again. He was like, the offense wasn't great last year. And I'm just like already trying to put him on. Like, do I put Aaron on waiver wires? You know.
Well, here's my question: which game was more boring, the Packers game last night or the one in Winnipeg a few weeks ago? Because that was I joined you to talk about that a couple weeks ago, and 80-yard field, no starters out there versus that to kick off the NFL season. I don't know.
They were both bad.
At least there was like Turfgate, there was some controversy.
Some injury.
The Bombers and the Lions played on that same turf. The bump was just 7 yards behind where it was there. I don't understand the issue really, but
so now that's their thing. Just to get things sorted out here, why you're here in Bomber Blue in Regina, the game's in Winnipeg. You at least answered it for him. Now I know why. Now I know. Can you tell our viewers why you're here?
Canada West Showcase tonight. The Regina Rams and their home opener. They're looking to move to 2-0 after a big win over UBC last week. The Alberta Golden Bears are in town, and I'll be doing a little bit of sidelines and hosting while our good friend Darren DuPont does play-by-play.
Right. It is a triple header, or however you want to say it, a three-pronged attack in Canada West football tonight.
Yeah.
Golden Bears in Regina, They'll have the call on Canada West TV. The UBCs at the Saskatchewan Huskies and the Bisons, the Thundering Herd, are at the Calgary Dinos. So we're getting things knocked off here. Now to the Banjo Bowl, because it's leading the polls. And Darren, you're the visitor, so we'll start with you, then go to Claire, because she's around the Riders covering them every day. I was on Winnipeg Radio this morning, your station. Fun how that all works together.
I'm doing that at 11 too.
And the guys,
they got all of us.
Well,
I guess.
I'm not allowed to have either of you on my pregame show tomorrow.
I don't understand. I'm more than welcome or happy to come on. Anyways, the guys in Winnipeg are picking the Bombers almost to lose because of injuries and personnel. And now I got the people over here in Saskatchewan, football people, are saying, no, Winnipeg's going to win because they always win, which they don't always win the Banjo Bowl. It's about 50-50. But what's your take on the game?
I picked the Riders last week to win, and what a game that was. I enjoyed it pretty much unlike any game this season. I think, the rivalry, the Labor Day Classic, the Banjo Bowl, all of that intrigue that comes with it added to it all, and a game-winning drive like it was. I like to think of myself as an objective observer. I expect Winnipeg to win this game. I think these teams are so evenly matched. Of course, Harris and Nichols and all those hits to the Blue Bombers lineup are definitely going to be a factor. But I just feel that home crowd, of course, there will be 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 Rider fans, as there always are for these Banjo Bowl games in Winnipeg. I just feel that with the way things went, the whole Chad Rempel situation with that controversial play,
Yes.
all of that, I think it just adds a little fire to the Blue Bombers' belly. No Lucky Whitehead, we found out just a few minutes ago as the Bombers put their roster out, but I don't think that's too much of a factor. They've had so much depth this season, offense, defense. They won games without Adam Bighill. They're winning games without Matt Nichols and Andrew Harris. Well, they haven't won a game without Andrew Harris yet. But you look at Johnny Augustine, his body of work in that game, of course, a 55-yard run to set up their only touchdown was a big reason why he had numbers that are really on par with what Andrew Harris has produced this season. Rushing and receiving, I think he was about 115 combined and a touchdown. That's what they expect to get from Andrew Harris. If they can get it from Johnny Augustine, everything else should come around, and I expect to win.
Now, Claire, you cover the Riders every day, as I mentioned. It's pretty evident to people that aren't even Rider fans that something special is going on with this team. So what is it?
Great question, and I've been trying to put my finger on it too, like through my stories. And I think one common denominator that keeps coming around is everybody's love for Craig Dickenson.
Wow.
I think he is a really respectful coach. I think he's hard on them, but I think he always does it in a way that he's like that true players coach. You see him in the locker room, and I kind of mentioned this actually on TSN radio last weekend, where they have this game where they take their balls of tape that's been used to tape up their ankles or whatever, and they try to throw it in the garbage can, and he's in there too, with them, oh yeah, I got the shot, but he's really casual with them, but at the same time gets their respect, which I think is such a fine balance to try to get that as a coach. I'm not saying it's all Craig doing it, but there's really a good team culture this year. I don't think there's a lot of, you look at somebody even like Manny Arsenault or Marcus Thigpen. They've both been stars over the past few years on their respective teams, but they're not creating drama because they're not seeing a lot of plays or not getting a lot of receptions, but they're still giving everything they've got on their routes or on their blocking. And I think when you see the players who aren't getting so many touches not being drama queens but still giving everything, you get a lot. You get this incredible team vibe. So I think that's what they got.
And you know of what you speak, because as you were pointing out before we went to air, you were on the national women's volleyball team. Team's team. I don't care what the sport is. I don't care what the level is. It is. And everybody buys in. Good things happen. And Craig Dickenson is a very special person. Bob Irving pointed out on Twitter yesterday, opposition, is that right? Competition,
sure,
Darren? Sure.
So, yeah.
CJOB, your TSN radio, but he said that very classy of Craig Dickenson not to engage with Mike O'Shea. You probably saw that at the end of the game, which, of course, I'm sitting there with football people. They're going, so you're taking a slap at your own coach? Which he wasn't.
No.
But your take on the way that game ended the other night and how O'Shea got in Dickinson's face.
I don't know if he actually got into his face. I think he just communicated to him, what happened there? Why is your guy blowing up my long snapper the way he did? I think that's the similar way Mike O'Shea leads his team. He is most definitely a player's coach. I don't know if he's in the room maybe playing games with his team, but the way he is a player's coach is that he allows the leadership of the team to lead. I asked Mike O'Shea about, the message he has in a redemption game or a revenge game with these back-to-backs, the Labor Day Classic and the Banjo Bowl, and what he communicates to them. He's like, well, I don't spend a lot of time in the locker room. So I find it interesting that Mike O'Shea is clear that he doesn't, have that message about, we need to, redeem. We need to, have fire in our belly because of the way that first matchup went. It's that he doesn't speak that way because he knows his team, his players will speak that way. I think that trust is why Mike O'Shea is respected, that every player in that room, to a man, knows that they are relied on almost silently, like hands off from the head coach. As far as that confrontation, I think it was maybe blown up a little bit more than
I agree
than what actually happened. In the end, I think it's just Mike O'Shea being a former football player saying, I didn't like that, whether it's to the rule or not, and by the rule as it's written, and it was changed this year, it was a clean play, but maybe a little greasy. Greasy plays happen. Holding happens on every play. Greasy plays happen. Unfortunately,
dirty plays happen. Just say it dirty. It's dirty.
This happens to a 38-year-old, the oldest player in the CFL, somebody I know Mike O'Shea probably respects as much as anybody in Chad Rimple, and now he's concussed and unable to play in this game. So
and just to give Craig Dickinson's side on things, we asked him about that this week, and he said, you know what, I totally get that Mike O'Shea is trying to stand up for his team. He's like, I looked at it, yeah, it might have been a bit of a rough play. And then somebody said, is it a bit of an unwritten rule that you don't hit the long snapper? And he was like, yeah, maybe. But Craig Dickenson called the referees, he called the officials and asked about that, and they said it was totally fine, which is why they didn't throw the flag. So his side of it, he's just, defending his team and saying it's okay, but yeah, maybe we did something that you're not technically supposed to do. But break the rules a little.
Well, yeah, what's it going to hurt? But, you talk about the coaches on both sides. But it's interesting, Claire, because most people would say Cody Fajardo's the reason for the turnaround because he's new too.
Yep.
And obviously, they're both part of it. But you went straight to the coach. Most would say the quarterback, but you're there every day. So
yeah, and I guess I chose the coach because you need to create an environment where everybody can thrive. And Cody Fajardo clearly has confidence, but at the first game he played, or at the first two games, I think he had those crazy, almost 370-yard games, a couple touchdowns. And then the third game against Calgary, which we were talking about off camera, he dropped off. But he's had some drop-off games, but he's always been able to rebound. And I think that's the environment that's been created to be like, yeah, it's okay, Cody, you can make some mistakes. It's not going to always be perfect, but we still trust you and you're still our guy. Whereas last year, I felt like Zach Collaros never got that confidence. It was always like, if you don't do well, you've got a short leash and there's Brandon Bridge. So I'm going above and saying I think that Dickenson has created this environment where everybody can thrive.
Lots to get to today. This has been the warm-up where we've covered U.S. Open, a little bit of Canada West, and a lot of CFL, and that will continue, but we'll step back for a minute. On the way today, we're hoping to be joined by the voice of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Marshall Ferguson. John Lynch is in the building on his birthday, and he's got a rant. John, just hang on over there. He gave the rant to me twice. He rehearsed it in the car on the way up here, so you're not going to want to miss that. It's all coming up. It's the Rod Pedersen Show, Canada's most watched Facebook Live shows right here. Listen live at rodpedersen.com, and you're catching our podcast at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, and iHeartRadio.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of the Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.